Hi, everybody. Andrew Champagne here alongside JD Fox for this week's edition of Champagne and JD. If you're tuning in for the first time, first of all, welcome. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. If you like what we do, go on down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our weekly updates. It really helps us out, and it'll ensure that you see everything that we produce ahead of the Breeders' Cup World Championships, which are coming up in 2 weeks, where the turf meets the surf down at Old Del Mar. We'll talk a little bit more about that event as it draws closer, but this week, a number of really cool things happening. I'm a Northern California guy, and Golden Gate Fields is reopening for its fall meet. So joining us here on Champagne and JD is a friend of the show. He needs no introduction, but JD, I'm going to give him one anyway because that's just the kind of guy I am. He's the track announcer and in-house handicapper at Golden Gate Fields. Not just one of the best track announcers in the business, but one of the best people in the business. Mr. Matt Dinerman is here with us. Matt, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Good to be back, Andrew, JD, and it's going to be a fun time here talking with you about all sorts of fun happenings, and we're all sort of getting ready for Breeders' Cup, but we've got a lot of good things in store this week, and this is one of the reasons I love horse racing, guys, is because it's not a seasonal sport. There's always something going on. There's always something to follow, and it keeps you on your toes.
That's for darn sure. I mean, we can talk about any number of things. We can talk about the Everest where one of us had the Exacta and it wasn't the Aussie Guru. Bang. But what we'll focus on now is opening weekend at Golden Gate Fields. The opening day of the meet is coming up on Friday. We're recording this on Thursday night, the 21st. And Matt, it's got to feel good getting back in the booth after a little bit of time off.
It definitely is, and it's always good to have a break. I mean, I don't think a race caller could go 12 months of the year calling races without getting burned out. I mean, it's just not really possible from a mental perspective. You need to stay sharp. So it's good to have a couple weeks to just sort of recharge the batteries, but we're all really looking forward to it. I know a lot of horsemen ran a lot of their horses at the very end of the summer meet. You get a couple weeks at Fresno. There are plenty of horses that sort of hold back and either wait for Golden Gate to come back if they didn't run the last couple of weeks, or you get those horses that are now starting to cycle back through here 3 or 4 weeks. Every 3 or 4 weeks, we seem to have races in the book for these horses. That's the pattern. Every 3 or 4 weeks or so, they're in the book ready to run. So if you've got your horses ready to go, there will be a spot for you. And really, we're going to talk about what's the best card of the week Saturday later on in the program. And Andrew, I know you're going to make a stop in my neck of the woods as well on Saturday.
Looking forward to it, man. Although I got to tell you, we might need an arc to get there. If you're handicapping anything in Northern California, whether it's horse racing, whether it's sports, anything, understand that it's going to pour. And my dad and I were thinking about not just hitting up Golden Gate Fields on Saturday. We were thinking about a road trip to South Lake Tahoe on Sunday to bet the football games. And we took one look at the forecast today, and we just decided, yeah, no. Not going to happen. So seriously, if you're in Northern California or Central California or any place that's about to get hit by the titanic monsoon that is hitting the West Coast, by all means, stay safe.
And the fall meet kicking off on Friday, Matt, we've got 10 stakes races for the fall meet on tap, including obviously the Berkeley Handicap being the key one there, November 27th, $100,000. But looking at the purses, I mean, you know, good $50,000, $75,000 stakes for the fall meet, and kind of a return to normalcy, kind of running when you anticipate running and getting back into a little bit of a normal schedule has to be nice.
Definitely is. After last year with COVID, we had some start and stops for sure, and we didn't get to run some of these stakes races because we had to stop due to COVID. So everybody is very healthy, knock on wood, and we're just happy to be back at the fall meet. And believe it or not, actually, this is my favorite meet. And no disrespect to the winter, spring, or summer meets, but like you mentioned, one of the reasons I really like the fall meet at Golden Gate is because we do have a stake every single week. The horse population is always very healthy in the fall. You've got horses that were spending their time at Del Mar in the summertime. They're back. Babies, 2-year-old horses, the ones that weren't ready early on in the year, later on in the year, they've got some time to develop and grow and mature a little bit, and they're ready to go. So we usually see a strong showing from younger horses, and it's just a really good meet. And even though we won't be on the turf this week, we'll definitely get back onto it hopefully next week, and we're looking forward to it with all those stakes in mind.
Well, one of the good things about Golden Gate Fields before we go much further is, yeah, turf racing probably not happening this week, but with the synthetic surface, field sizes are still going to be nice. And we'll take a look at some of those on Saturday. And you mentioned the 2-year-old races. My goodness, I feel so terrible for the morning line man for having to put a line on the 7th race of the Saturday program. And we'll get there when we get there. But my goodness, big fields coming up this weekend at Golden Gate Fields. As an announcer, as a handicapper, as somebody that's there in that booth seeing racing all throughout the year, that's going to make you excited to come to work, man.
It definitely is. I mean, every time I wake up in the morning, I'm excited to go to the races. I don't think I've ever waken up in the morning and say, oh, no, I have to call races today. Like, that's never happened. I'm excited to go to work. And like you say, the good racing makes it even more exciting to go there. And we talked about that Tapeta, Andrew, being our main track here. And actually our racing secretary, the races that were scheduled for the turf, we just moved them right away to the Tapeta. We said, we know we're not going to run on the turf. No point in carting them. We'll write turf races next week. Don't worry. This week we're going to stay on the Tapeta. Even if for some reason the races were on the turf and they got washed off, we don't really see that many scratches because of the Tapeta, and turf form usually transfers pretty well to the Tapeta. That's part of the reason Gulfstream has their synthetic surface, the Tapeta there, because one, if you get scratches, if the race gets off the turf, well, actually, I should rephrase that. If the race gets taken off the turf, you won't see that many scratches. And B, it gives the turf course a little bit of a rest as well. At Gulfstream, I think, they run a lot on the grass. So it gives the turf course a little bit of a rest, which is good. Not as many hooves over it, and that really helps preserve the grass. So the Tapeta, a lot of horsemen like it. The jockeys love riding on it because they don't get dirty. That's part of it. And it's just going to be a good, week of racing here at Golden Gate and the whole fall meet, really.
And 4 of the 10 stakes in the fall meet for 2-year-olds, as Matt mentioned, lots of good 2-year-old racing, and we'll talk a little bit about 2-year-old racing on Saturday later on in the show. But we've got a big charity challenge that you're a part of, Matt, and you've drawn an inside gate. If you look at the information that's out there and the morning line odds, you and Ron look like people are expecting big things here for this first bet charity challenge.
The first charity handicapping challenge, and myself and David Duggan, the general manager at Golden Gate, were on a team last year, and we were actually ahead turning for home in the final stretch. Got a little bit leg weary in the last race, but held 5th out of 12, so that's pretty good. And I've got Ron Nicoletti as a partner this year, and Ron's been fantastic. We have strategized, we've talked on the phone, we've handicapped the races together, and we have made the hashtag Beat Pete. I'm talking to you, Pete Aiello. Hashtag Beat Pete. Hashtag we're going to beat everybody. We're ready to go. And you're going to be able to watch, actually, the first charity challenge via YouTube and the social media channels during Santa Anita's 5th race. That's the last race in which our team's handicap, and you can watch us root for the horses, and we talk about the charity challenge, and really just for a great cause, because it's for the Grayson-Jockey Club Research Foundation, a foundation that's been around for a while, really supporting thoroughbreds, supporting aftercare, supporting the safety and welfare of the horses and the athletes who ride them. And we just see continued progression in that sort of area. So it's just for a good cause, and we're looking forward to it. But Ron and I, the message is clear. We want to win.
Okay, so you opened the box here, so I'm going to need to dive in, because one of the things that I tried to do behind the scenes was approach a couple of your competitors and have them send videos in. Unfortunately, that didn't materialize, but I did get a text message from Pete Aiello that I will read that I'm pretty sure you won't get, but I think JD will, and maybe he'll explain it to you. So I invited heel Pete Aiello to come out, which is, if you've been following his Twitter feed, basically just him going into wrestling promo mode. Funny how he's able to do that without a problem. I try to do that, and it's a major problem. But jealousy aside, I invited him to send a video. His response: Dinerman is no fun. It's like going after Scorpio Sky when MJF is in the building. JD, would you like to translate?
I have to think what he means by that.
I believe what he's trying to say is something along the lines of Dinerman's not the biggest fish in the contest to go after.
Okay. That would make sense. But you can get some action figures at Target of both of these people that we're talking about, Matt. They're professional wrestlers in AEW.
MJS has a scarf that you can actually like wear on your finger if you want to get really fancy.
That's cool. I'm down for that.
So Pete, obviously, you know, maybe he's upset at the morning line here, you know, 12-1. I don't know, maybe. And obviously, Matt, you and Ron are pretty formidable. You got kind of a coast-to-coast connection, which I think will work well in this contest.
And we use that to our advantage. He looked at East Coast. I looked at West Coast. We looked at all of them, but we know our tracks and we know those horses, and we are both handicappers as well. You don't get every single player in this tournament that's a handicapper every single day. So 5-1. I said if they sort of flip those numbers, it's probably what you're looking as a realistic off odds 1-5, and I'm assuming that we're going to win as advertised. So especially to Mr. Aiello, he's going to wake up tomorrow morning feeling confident, and by the end of the day, I think he's going to have a different feeling, unfortunately.
So two things really quickly. One, horse racing Twitter has just been a very exhausting place for me over the past couple of weeks. To everybody involved in this contest that has been posting smack talk and having so much fun, thank you. I thoroughly appreciate that. That has been a highlight for me on the rare occasions that I've booted up Twitter. Shout out to Jolie Villa-Gregory and Tyler Frausto as well, two of the people that are involved in making this contest what it is. Also, I got to tell you, I think that maybe in the sea of all of this trash talk from everybody involved, several of whom can cut a pretty mean promo, don't sleep on Zoe Cadman and Nate Newby. Those are two fantastic handicappers, and I think that's your primary competition, man.
Zoe won it last year. I mean, that tweet that she put out the other day, award winner, along with the award she was holding. She's like, hey, guys, you know, you can talk all the smack you want, but I'm just getting ready for my acceptance speech. Remember this? I remember it very well. And she hit I think, over $20 horse, and there you go, sealed the deal. So they're basically flying under the radar. So we've got some good, strong teams here. I mean, all kidding aside, it's a good morning line, really, because it's a wide open affair here. And just be ready for some more smack talk, because it's going to be coming from all ends of the coast, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Ashley Mayu will be right in the middle of all of it. So,
yes, she will. I asked her to send a video, but she's actually traveling to Maryland Million Day, so she was a little bit swamped. The nerve to let work get in the way of a handicapping contest.
I mean, it doesn't even feel like work. That's what's amazing about it. It doesn't even feel like work. But you know what? Ashley, don't worry. She's going to come with her best stuff. And she's already been sort of giving me some shade already, and I didn't even start the conversation. So Ashley's ready to go.
Oh, man. But at any rate, follow along with that charity challenge. It's a really cool thing that First Bet and the Stronach Group are doing. Kudos to everyone involved. Best of luck to everyone involved. And if Pete Aiello doesn't win, I hope he finishes last, just so we can see the promo and hear him throwing things in the Gulfstream Park booth between races. That would just it'd be so much fun. And Heel Pete has an open invitation to send whatever videos he wants through this particular channel. JD, I'm overruling you on that, just in case you felt differently.
No, we've seen it before in relation to, I mean, we've aired heel promo videos about people on the show previously that I've put together. So I have no doubt that we can fit those in, or postscript of this contest, of this charity handicapping challenge, if anybody wants to weigh in. But
I did tell Ron, I said, listen, be prepared to call the end of the race card, because Pete's going to be so upset that he did so bad, he's not going to be able to finish work. So I told Ron, be prepared for this.
Yeah, that's definitely something to watch out for. Pete competes very hard, and he takes things to heart. It's one of the reasons we love him. One of the reasons we've had him on the show in the past.
Don't worry, we're just joking.
One of the reasons that he's one of all of our best friends in the world of horse racing. But going past the charity challenge for a bit, we're going to return to where the Bay comes to play, Golden Gate Fields, and we're going to take a look at the late pick 4 for this coming Saturday. It's a 9-race program, and it is a very, very good one. lots of big fields. You're going to want to take a look at this program. The late pick 4 starts in race number 6. This is a starter allowance event. Older horses going 1 mile and a 16th, as mentioned. All of the races on the Tapeta main track. Field of 8 signed on for this one. The 5-2 morning line favorite breaks on the rail. That's number 1, Chief Jackson, a 3-year-old trying older horses in this spot. Comes in off of a very good second-place finish on the turf against similar stock. JD, you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? How do you want to do this?
Go ahead, Andrew. You've got a big opinion here.
Well, it's not necessarily so much a big opinion so much as I think you need to have a single in this particular sequence because there are a couple of races where you're going to need to spread. And my opinion in this particular race is that if Chief Jackson runs back to either the race he ran last time out or his 4th place finish in the Alcatraz, a stakes race 2 starts ago, he's far and away the most likely winner here. Now, there's a little bit of hesitation on my part, A, because he's 5-2, B, because he's never gone long on Tapeta. However, I like the fact that he seems to be maturing late in his 3-year-old year. They put him away after the Alcatraz again. He ran 4th that day after contesting a pretty hot pace. He came back, ran a very good second, was gaining late on the winner that day, goes second off the layoff for a good barn that has been sending out a lot of horses that run second and third. It's been a case where Dwayne Baker has just been a little bit unlucky, I think, all year long. He's better than that 7% clip would indicate. A lot of seconds, a lot of thirds. And I think Chief Jackson is coming into his own. Also, a couple of the other horses that are going to take money in this spot, they like running second and third. It's a case where I just can't be overly enthusiastic about a horse like Awesome Dude, whose lone win since breaking the maiden came. Actually, he hasn't. He crossed the wire first at Pleasanton, but was disqualified that day. He hasn't actually won since. But I think Chief Jackson is going the right way. I think he's in line for a big effort second off the bench. And I'm going to single him here and try to use the rest of my ticket to extract some value out of a horse that I think is pretty well met.
And Matt's going to appreciate this. I am going to get some karma on my side here, and I'm handicapping Golden Gate Field, so I've got to put my Golden Gate Fields hat on. So let's see here. Okay, we got a Golden Gate Fields hat on here from the
Johnny
owner, Johnny T, leading owner from last meet. He has a horse in the sequence. We'll see if I use that horse later on. But I am going 3 deep here, and I've got 2 that I want to talk about. That's a Bad Boy and America Great. I think America Great is a very interesting horse in this spot because we've seen so many different things in 3 races from this horse. We've seen a good main claiming performance, first out going 5.5. The try on turf going 5 furlongs showed no speed that day, but closed and rallied and looked nice. And then the mile, contentious pace that day. They ran really heavy up front. Was not for him, but he could be a lone speed type here against this field. I mean, you have to wonder here. Obviously, this is a very interesting horse from the standpoint of debuts at age 6, was a $650,000 Keeneland September purchase back in 2016. The pedigree's there. They've just been very patient with this horse. And finally, the horse is ready to go. And America Great, 20-1 on the morning line. I think America Great will be out in front to start this race, and we'll just have to see how long that lasts, Matt.
This is an interesting race. I mean, I want to go to America Great first just because this horse is so interesting. I mean, rarely do you see a horse purchased for that much money, and they first start at 6, and the same owner owns the horse. He didn't sell him. He just kept them. They were just patient. They're not going to make their money back, but he was a horse that I actually liked last time out. And I talked about it on the track feed because I do the handicapping on the track feed as well. JD, this horse has route pedigree all over the place. If you look at his pedigree, if you look at his siblings, you look at his dam, his sire, it's just route. So maybe second time routing, if he can get the lead this time. He was a little bit eager early on in his last start, and the fractions were pretty decent for the Tapeta. So you know what? At a big price, I don't blame you for trying him one more time. I want to go to Andrew's top pick, Chief Jackson. I don't know if you watched that replay, but it was a disastrous stretch run for him. And we talk about it, Andrew, on the side, and I'm sure JD would agree. You would agree that chirp handicapping is very, very important. And luckily, as the announcer, I get to watch all of these trips unfold. And I remember calling this race and saying to myself, and I think I might even said it on the call, he might have been best. I mean, he was blocked on the rail. He should have won that day. So the fact that this horse is getting back in this condition here, if people watch his trip, he's going to get bet very hard, and people will key him. His only career win on the Tapeta, he just drew off against Maiden Special Weight Company and won easy. So the synthetic shouldn't be a problem. And I also like where JD's going with That's a Bad Boy, because this horse took him a little while to figure out what he wants to do, to break his maiden, and trainer Jose Batista and trainer Quinn Howie, who had him before, figured it out. Turf routing, that's what he wants to do. He's getting back to synthetics. Problem is he's 0 for 5 on synthetics, but the last time we saw him on the Tapeta, it was in 2020, and he was a totally different horse. He wasn't nearly as good as he is now. So if That's a Bad Boy is just a different horse, and he likes the Tapeta all of a sudden because we know he likes the grass, but if he likes Tapeta off that main special weight win, I like that Jose Batista is not putting him in a first-level allowance. He's saying, you know what, he's eligible for a starter allowance. Let's not throw him against the big dogs, the big winners early. Let's run him in a starter allowance and see what he can do. So I think you guys are on to something with all three of those horses. I think all of them are interesting in this race.
It's one of many really good betting races on this program. When we said it was a good card, we are not blowing smoke. You're going to want to take a look at this. And on that note, let's go to something completely different. Race number 7, 2-year-olds, many of them going 5 furlongs on the synthetic. And my heart goes out to the morning line man, because there was no conceivable way to make a good morning line here, and he gave it his best shot. Horse number 7, Savage Love, the lukewarm 7-2 morning line favorite. And yeah, I suppose that makes sense. More on that one later. If this doesn't look like quite enough horses, don't worry. We've got a couple more here. 3 also eligibles lining up for this one, and the scratches are going to potentially alter our tickets here, both JD and I using a couple of those also eligibles in this spot, because, look, you're going to want to spread in this particular race. Am I right, JD?
Yeah, and you're proving it here, going 6 deep.
Yeah, 6 deep to start. We'll see how many horses I wind up using depending on who scratches and who doesn't. There are a couple of horses with experience that run second time out here. Ascendancy, horse number 3 in the program, went first time out for a very good barn, but one that is over with first-time starters. So the fact that Ascendancy was bet down to 3-5 last time shows you how well that horse was meant. Dueled through some pretty fast fractions, wound up finishing third, beating a little less than 3 lengths. Would not be a surprise if this horse takes a big step forward here. The first-time starter, though, that intrigues me a little bit, breaks to that one's outside. That's number 4, Tam's Little Angel. And look, when you see morning workouts at Golden Gate Fields, there are times where you need to take them with a grain of salt because it is a very slow surface in the mornings. So when you see a bullet drill going 6 furlongs in 1:15 and 2, it very well could have been a very good work. And I like the fact that the 2 works since then have both been very good. That October 10th work, 4th fastest of 70 at the distance. The most recent drill, a 5 furlong gate drill, 20th fastest of 106. I think Tam's Little Angel can run. I like the fact that Espinoza rides for Steve Specht. Specht, a 21% trainer to this point in the season, and a guy that can win with first-time starters. But look, it's tough to have a very strong opinion in this race. I could be going as much as 6 deep in here, maybe 4 deep if everybody in the body of the field runs and the also eligible scratch. But it's tough to have an overwhelmingly strong opinion. But if I was going on a grid structure with A's and B's, Ascendancy and Tam's Little Angel would be my A's. But my goodness, there are so many different directions you can go here. JD, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in a very similar boat, Andrew. I've got 3 from the main field and 2 also eligibles. We'll talk about the also eligibles real quick here. Start with the 12, Don't Tell Heidi for Jonathan Thomas, or for Jamie Thomas, I'm sorry. I see Jay Thomas, and I'm like, am I thinking West Coast or am I thinking?
They're both good trainers. It's okay.
They are
both good trainers. So, Jamie Thomas, Florida bred here, interesting. Gormley out of a tactical cat mare. Should the sprint should be right between this horse's eyeballs. And you look at the siblings wins there have been in sprints. 13, Midnight's Girl, kind of a similar story. Kentucky bred, Midnight Storm out of an NXS mare. Again, looking at horses that are likely to be strong sprint contenders first out. Jonathan Wong doing the training on the 13 Midnight's Gal. And one thing I want to mention, and maybe get your opinion on this, Matt, is Andrew mentioned the word tab of Tam's Little Angel, and I also bought in, but I'm curious in your own handicapping if that extra gate drill seems a little odd this close to the first start, and how you factor that in potentially in looking at a first-time starter.
Well, I think when I handicap, it's more understanding the trainer patterns, in my opinion. What types of works do these guys put in their horses or gals, whoever it may be? In Steve Speck's case, Steve is a very good horseman. He's an old school horseman. He's hands-on, and he typically does give his horses 2 to 3 works out of the gate. It's usually not just one. He's usually got a few of them on there. Knowing how this barn operates, it's pretty standard for his barn to have a few works out of the gate there. It's very standard for him to have a 6 furlong work there. So this is a very normal work tab for the Steve Speck barn. If it was somebody, I don't know, a little more on the conservative side, and I can't really think of someone off the top of my head, but there are certain trainers that maybe they work them once out of the gate. Jack Steiner, he's one that comes to mind, a really good horseman. He's not one that typically works his horses 3 times out of the gate before their first race, usually once. And I've seen times where Jack Steiner breaks them out of the gate and doesn't even work them out of the gate before their first race. So I think it just, for me personally, all depends on that specific trainer, that barn, and after being here for now, this is my 4th year coming on 5, understanding which operations are a little bit more keen to work their horses out of the gate before their first race versus others.
That's some pretty tremendous insight, and that's what you get from having the track announcer and in-house handicapper here on this show. It's really cool to diagnose trainer intent in that particular way, but my goodness, if you've got a strong opinion in this 7th race, more power to you, because this is not an easy race to handicap, not an easy race to set a morning line for. And Matt, we were talking in one of our pre-show meetings about how it makes you wonder if the head racing secretary knew this was going to happen when he carded the race, and his assistant racing secretary, who is also the morning line man, was just left going, "Why are you doing this to me?"
Patrick Mackey, our racing secretary, director of racing, is a very smart man, and he keeps his racing office awake and alert and working hard. So he told Steve Martinelli, surely, "Listen, buddy, I'm waking you up off the bench here. You've had a couple weeks to relax. We're back into it." And Steve Martinelli, by the way, assistant racing secretary, fantastic guy. He follows these horses, the ins and outs of everything at Golden Gate Fields. He knows the inventory as good as anybody, and he knows these horses like the back of his hand, and he does a fantastic job, I think, on the morning lines, and really a phenomenal talent knowing all these horses. I mean, I bet you, like, if he could call races, the memorization for him would be no problem. He knows all these horses.
That's for sure. That's what you get from having been around for a while. Now, speaking of having been around for a while, killer segue right there. I'm proud of myself. We're going to go to race number 8, which features a lot, and I mean a lot, of stalwarts on the Northern California circuit. This is an allowance optional claiming event. Another very big field with a horse on the second screen going, "Wait for me, wait for me, wait for me." We've also got, in this particular spot, a couple of horses that at short prices I'm not particularly big fans of. You'll look at number 8, Claim of Passion, a horse that has won once in the last, let's see, 8 or 9 starts, 4-1 on that morning line. We've also got a horse in Explosive, number 5 in the program, shipping up from Southern California for Richard Mandela. Now, this is a horse that does have a win here at Golden Gate Fields, but it was going 5.5 furlongs. And this horse has never gone 2 turns before. I think this is a very curious placement here. And there's horse number 11, Descartes. Somewhere some track announcer, likely in Oldsmar, Florida, would have called him Des Cartes, but it's actually Descartes. But big field signed on here. And I'm going to try to beat the two horses that I've mentioned. I'm just not a particularly big fan of either Explosive or Claim of Passion. My top selection in this one is a horse that showed a totally new dimension last time out, and that's number 9, Pour on the Coal, a horse that had had some trouble finding the winner's circle, but last time out showed that new dimension by rating pretty far off of a solid pace, something he had not shown he could do. And not only did he do it, he won by 2.5 lengths with a career best Beyer speed figure. He was claimed out of that race, goes to the Victor Trujillo barn, who doesn't claim a whole lot of horses, but is a very successful trainer, 17% so far on the year. And in that race, he beat a number of horses that also show up in this spot. So if Victor Trujillo can keep Pour on the Coal on the right track, I think he's going to be pretty tough in here. I also took a look at the morning line and had to do a double take. Not that I think it's wrong, but there's a legitimate chance that horse number 6 in your program, Fridays at Shady, who is 7 for 17 at Golden Gate Fields, will be 6-1 or higher. Look at the past performances, and you see a horse that not long ago won 5 straight races and who wasn't disgraced last time out, all he did was run third despite a wide trip. I think Fridays at Shady has a big shot in here. 6 and 9 for me here. Ha, 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 ha. In race number 8 at Golden Gate Fields, just trying to beat the two favorites that I think are going to take a little bit of money with horses that may be the third or fourth choice, but could potentially knock out a fair amount of tickets.
I have 2 horses on my ticket who I know Andrew hates every bit of, and one of them is Claim of Passion. We've already heard that, but Descartes is probably right on there on the Andrew Champagne no likey. When has this horse been winning? And it has not been recently.
Actually, I don't hate Descartes in here. I just think the outside post and there being a fair amount of speed works against him. But you're going to get a price.
Yeah, the last win was October 3rd of last year. I was waiting for you to mention that, Andrew, but you're actually positive about a handicapping angle I gave
Well,
here,
yeah. I mean, my
strange.
thinking is, and I don't want to jump on your toes too much, but it's clear something went wrong last time. Draw a line through that race, and the horse's form looks better.
Yeah, this horse will be in the lead at double-digit odds for a certain portion of this race. Getting the outside draw, send is going to be the only option. You don't see this horse having an innate ability to rate at age 4. Don't think that's something that's going to come along late. So very interested to see Descartes from the outside, somebody I could not leave off the ticket at those odds given the spot here. I will have to say River Rose is not on my ticket, the one Johnny T horse in this actual sequence, and has been facing many of these horses and just has not gotten the job done against Pour on the Coal, against Wine and Whiskey, against Fridays at Shady, common foes here. One question I have in relation to this, the horses that I've got on the ticket are the horses that were coming out of the allowance races from the spring. In years past, Matt, it's always been those allowance races in the spring have been tougher than they have been when it comes up around the fall time, even though it's the same condition. A couple of the other horses in this field that have some winning streaks and are lower on the morning line odds, they were running and claiming races in the spring. Is that an angle that you look at for the fall meet here in terms of where these horses fit in the spring, where there might be a few more talented horses than the first week of the fall meet?
That's actually a very good question. I think it's all circumstantial. I mean, I think there are situations where that could definitely be the case. What you were saying about how the allowance races at times can come up a little bit lighter than the spring, in my opinion, is simply because of the time of the year. And you get horses that, if they're good enough, they're going to break those conditions and they're going to move along to something else. At this point, you've got a lot of horses that are either dropping in class, like a horse like Descartes, who has obviously run very well at higher levels if you look back at his history, but he's not good enough at this point, and this is sort of where he belongs if he runs his best race. He's not going to win a second-level allowance. He's certainly not going to win a stake. Maybe the owners say, you know what, we don't really want to put him in for 2025. We want to run him here and try to get a win with him again with a little bit of a better purse. So that's the situation there. But I really just focus on recent form and say, hey, you know, some horses, they peak in certain parts of the year. Sometimes, for whatever reason, horses are doing better than they were before or worse. Friday's at Shady, a perfect example of a horse that just got better and better, who was running against lower level claimers in the middle of the year. And now look at him. I mean, he's better than ever. So I think it's all circumstantial, really.
Another very good betting race, though. My goodness, this is a really fun card. And I know we're saying that a lot, but we're not blowing smoke. You only need to be right once or twice all day long in order to have a really good day at Golden Gate Fields. As we move on to the 9th and final on the Saturday program, this is a maiden claiming event for 2-year-olds going 6 furlongs. And it's another race, as far as the 2-year-olds go, where there isn't a ton of proven form signed on. Number 3, Lying Ghost, is the 5-2 morning line favorite. One of 2 entrants in this field from the Faith Taylor barn. More on that later. That's called foreshadowing, kids. Couple of familiar names, though. Peter Miller sends a horse up from Southern California, number 4, Semanis. And Jonathan Wong has a second-time starter in the form of number 2, Quirky Chaos. This board, though, appears to be pretty wide open, especially if you don't like the morning line favorite. And JD, I don't. I guess I'll keep going since I've been prompted. Okay. So riddle me this. If Lying Ghost is supposed to win this race, what's Bob's Reign doing here? Same owner, same trainer, dropping in class from the maiden special weight rank to the maiden claiming ranks, one of the biggest drops in the game. And you're telling me I can either have Lying Ghost at 5-2 or Bob's Reign at 15-1 with a 22% jockey in the saddle. One guess where I'm going, and it is not to the horse that is the morning line favorite. If Lying Ghost beats me, she beats me. That's just the way it is, and I'll be more than happy with that. I'm going 4 deep against that one. Quirky Chaos, I think, makes a lot of sense. Just a little bit outpaced from the starting gate in that first race. They went 22-3 for the first quarter, so that was not slow. And Quirky Chaos, I think, has every right to improve. The recent workouts look very sharp. That's probably my top selection. I'll also use number 6, Night, with Cedro Tamayo. This is a horse that 2 starts ago was 3rd, beaten just a length and a quarter. And I think a repeat of that particular effort gets that horse at least somewhat close to the top here. And I'll also throw in a much bigger price. Horse number 9, Fantastic Dream, I think showed some improvement last time out, was up near a pretty fast pace, gets a cushy outside draw in a race with a lot of 2-year-olds. I think that maturity is really going to help. And it's similar to JD's logic about Descartes in the last race. Huge price that will likely make the lead at some point. I'm going 4 deep. That has to be on it. If both also eligibles draw in, it's a $24 ticket for me. More likely than not, though, it's a $16 play, as you can see down here. And JD has some different valuations for his ticket as well.
Yep, and I'm just going 2 deep here, and I want to talk about the first-time starter in the 8, Will Is Chill by Frosted, out of the Rockport Harbor Mare Harbor Mist. Now, the first 2 foals for Harbor Mist to hit the track have taken 8 starts and 5 starts to find the winner's circle. But I do like this combination of Harbor Mist and Frosted from a pedigree standpoint. And if you look at Harbor Mist, she broke her maiden in the 2nd career start, and they thought enough of her to where they immediately entered her into a race that Andrew is very familiar with, which is a precursor to the Frisette, and that, of course, being that I'm blanking out and now having to look it up, the Anne M. Claire Stakes, which is a stepping stone to the Frisette. She won that one, finished 6th in the Frisette, and had a good stakes allowance optional claiming kind of career, made $262,000 on the racetrack. I think a very smart New York bred mare here, and I like the full coming, obviously the breeding with Frosted. I think this is a very interesting horse to try first time out. Again, I mentioned you're getting 10-1 because the 2 other foals took a long time to hit the winner's circle, but they also made the winner's circle. They did eventually win, which I think is key. And then Quirky Chaos, I think that there's nothing wrong with that first start back. I think this horse ran around, and that's kind of the one issue that I have, is it basically was a stand in still place, was second by 1.5 at first call and finished second by 1.5. It's a 5 furlong race, so the extension out to 6. Obviously, Jonathan Wong, Tommy Town, this is basically your bread and butter connections at the Golden Gate meet here. So giving them a shot with the son of Stanford, Quirky Chaos, here in the final leg. So we're going 3x5, by 3x2 again, 2 also eligible. So this is a variable ticket that will cost somewhere between $27 and $45, dependent upon the exchange rate and some other things that are going to happen. So take what you see and what you like here and apply it to your own handicapping, and listen to Matt Dinerman doing all of the on-track handicapping that day, because he'll have some more insight that obviously he's provided us here. Did you have anything you wanted to say, Matt, about this ninth race?
No, it's just a very good race, and another race where you could go a lot of different ways. I mean, this is a good sequence. It's likely to pay very well, and it's just a really good card, especially the second half. So, I mean, we talked about Steve Speck, how good he is as a trainer, and he's got Willie's Chill at a price 10-1 on the morning line, and there you go. We talked about it earlier. He's got 3 gate works there, so again, very customary for the Speck barn. Should be able to break out of the gate well. I think Jonathan Wong, he's done very well with younger horses in the past few years. And one thing I like about Jonathan is, and this is to his advantage, he's got a lot of horses. So he gets to decide, this is where this horse fits. This is where we are going to run this horse. You see smaller barns, sometimes they don't want to lose him at the claim box, so they put him in a little bit higher than they're worth. With Jonathan, he's the type of trainer, he doesn't need to mess around with these horses. He's got so many of them. He needs to run them in spots where they can win. He's got a lot of good owners that want to win. So the fact that Quirky Chaos ran for maiden 12-5, ran second, and now is bumping up in class, I think is a big-time positive from a trainer that wins. That's telling you, he's saying, maybe the horse is doing better. Maybe he thinks this horse is going to take a step forward second time out. So that's a very interesting angle that I want to point out. When you see a horse run for a lower tag, then they're in for a higher tag. Sometimes it doesn't work, but other times it's really tipping the hand there that a horse is maybe getting better since the first start.
One quick note before we move on to our final thoughts section. JD, if this was a 2-turn race, I would be all over Willie's Chill. To me, that is a 2-turn pedigree, top and bottom. I just think Willie's Chill maybe needs a race to get going. The work tab a little on the slow side for this one, at least comparatively, compared to others that have been working that day. Just think needs a race. But say, for instance, this horse has an even run first time out. If they're able to find a spot going 2 turns, I'm right on the bandwagon with you. I think this is a 2-turn prospect going forward, but there's a lot of different directions you can go, and I can't fault you for getting double-digit odds on a horse that's pretty well bred and in this type of condition where maybe he doesn't have to be much in order to get the money.
Yeah, and that's really what we're looking for here, is trying to find some value, and that's always what I tell people is, hey, you may not see me hit a lot of tickets on this show, but when I do hit tickets, I tend to hit them for a lot because I'm finding value like that on the board.
Bourbonic.
Okay, fair enough. However you want to broach it.
No, I was giving you credit for Bourbonic in the Wood Memorial. I'm being a good co-host here.
You had Bourbonic, JD.
I did, and Bourbonic has been terrible since.
That's all you needed. You just needed him once.
One time.
Very true. And now we head to the final thoughts segment of the show. Obviously, this is a chance to talk about anything you want and mention anything. And I'm going to go ahead and lead it off, and I'll give Matt some time to think about what he wants to say. But one of the things that I got to do this past week was take part in the PDJF telethon at Keeneland and be around the jocks. And we had just such an outpouring of support from the Hall of Fame jocks to obviously the jocks that are currently riding in the meet at Keeneland. We had 10 different jockeys that had mounts that day show up and come and take phone calls and talk to fans. Really cool. Also, always cool to spend time and talk to Gary Berzer, who's been one of the key beneficiaries of the PDJF, and his family were around, and just such positive energy from somebody that's been through so much. If you can obviously look and read a bit about Gary Berzer's story, but he was a very, very accomplished jockey that obviously had his career end too soon, but he's still a very positive individual around horses every day, and somebody who's great to talk to. So really excited. We got to raise almost $350,000 for the PDJF this past Sunday. Thanks to PDJF, TVG, Mattress Mac came through with a big $35,000 donation. It was a lot of fun to be around those jockeys. And obviously you start hearing stories, and when we got Pat Day and Lafitte Penkai and all of those folks in the same room, the stories are good. And it's sometimes just good to be a fly on the wall.
I have a question. Did anyone try to give Lafitte a leg up because the dude looks like he can still ride?
Yeah, no, Lafitte is still in what looks like rider shape, and that's just a feat, a love feat for him to be in that time, and he was enjoying himself trying to pick winners. The jockeys like to think they're handicappers when they retire.
It's okay, because handicappers like to think they're jockeys.
Very true. So it was a lot of fun and a lot of good positive energy from the day, and I was excited to just play a small part in it.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Shout out to everybody that was involved. Former boss of mine, Stephen Kennelly, was on IT and jock support, as he called it. I hoped and prayed that he would have a very long, trying day. It sounds like he did, and it sounds like a lot of people are going to wind up reaping the benefits of that. So to anybody that contributed, anybody that played a role, thank you. The racing community is better for it.
I mean,
yeah,
just what a great thing. I mean, the PDJF and raising money for just a wonderful cause. And I was actually at Santa Anita when they were doing that in the XBTV studios. Joe Bravo was in there when I walked in, Gary Stevens, Scott Stevens, Eddie Garcia, a quarter horse jockey. So kudos to everybody who made that just a wonderful success the afternoon. And the PDJF, remember, you can go to their website to donate at all times, and it's a great cause. A final thought I want to share with you guys, and I shared it on social media, but I want to share it to everybody who's watching that hasn't seen it. So I was at Santa Anita on Sunday, and I was walking into the gate, and I noticed the gate man. His name is Nacho. That's his nickname. And when I was a young kid, 15, I started hot walking for trainer John Sadler, and Nacho worked for the barn. And no matter how much I struggled, because there were some things I got, other things I needed a little more help on and needed a little more time to learn. Nacho was patient. He was nice. People would chuckle around. He wouldn't. He would come and help me, and he made me feel better, and he almost treated me like I was his own son when I was back there. And that's one thing I always remembered about Nacho. Well, I haven't seen him for about 4 or 5 years, and Nacho is the gate man because he works on the back stretch in the morning. He works on the backstretch in the morning. He works on the front side in the afternoon. And we talked. We took a picture. I asked him how his family was. I remember his whole family. I mean, his son was walking around selling candy when he was a kid, when I was walking hots, and now he's almost 18, and he's trying to be an exercise rider. I mean, time flies by. But going back to towards the end of the conversation, we embraced, we hugged, and he took off his sunglasses, and he had tears in his eyes, and I was sort of taken aback by it. And he said, "I love you, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me." And I said, "Are you kidding me? I always have time to talk to you. I mean, you did so much. You helped me, and I'll always remember that." So going to the final thought, the point is, no matter where you are, no matter what job you have, always remember the people that helped you along the way, no matter where you are. And piggybacking on that thought, you are never too good to talk to someone who's a good person, who wants to talk to you, who wants to share their love for the game of racing. Do yourself a favor. Take the time to talk to those people. Nobody that's watching this, including myself, is better than anybody else. Be nice, be kind, teach people, learn, be open. These are the types of people that go places in life by doing things like that. So, Nacho, you're the man if you ever watch this, and it was a pleasure talking to you. And it was really a good lesson to something that I knew, but to really sort of reestablish that belief, and as a reminder to always treat people the right way.
I got to follow that.
I was about to say, we painted Andrew into a corner that he has to be positive.
I was going to be positive anyway. This might be a first 3 positive final thoughts all in a row to end an episode of Champagne and JD. I'd like to extend congratulations to a friend of this program. As we found out via social media earlier this week, Rachel McLaughlin is expecting another child. Very happy for her, happy for her family. As I have mentioned, Andrew is a very nice name, just in case you happen to be watching this, Rachel. Also, she is expecting a boy, and I have already prepared her for the fact that Uncle Bill Downs will likely take great pleasure in trying to mold this young person into a professional wrestling fan.
Not a gambler?
Both.
Okay.
You can gamble on professional wrestling. There are markets for that.
Absolutely. Uncle Downs, he's going to teach him young, too. I mean, he's not going to wait like 8, 9, 10 years. He's going to start at like maybe 3. Maybe.
I was thinking 3. Yeah, 3 sounds about right.
Yeah.
We love the people at Indiana Grand. They're awesome. They do a lot of work. And a lot of that work is rewarded by the time that any time that it happens to be raining anywhere in the state of Indiana, it's pouring in Shelbyville. But my goodness, you will never find more dedicated people at a racetrack than the people at Indiana Grand. Rachel McLaughlin, Bill Downs, Eric Hellstrom, good people that run a very tight ship and do a lot for the horse racing community. So Rachel, congratulations. We're really, really happy for you. And, wow, this might be our most positive episode ever, Jaden.
You forgot Tammy Knox, so it's all right.
See, now I feel guilty. Sorry, Tammy. We love you.
There goes the positivity. There it goes, out the window.
Yep, gone. There it goes, out the window. It's enjoying salsa night at the bar across the street.
Oh, really?
All right, Matt, when you're calling races, you're very active on social media. We have it down there, 3 Colts Handicap. You like to get on and obviously it'll be a little different. It was Periscopes before, and now it's Twitter video. Are you ready for that transition when it comes to giving people insight on the last race of the day?
It's taken a while to get used to. Periscope, its loss is still felt for many reasons, and I'm sure the Twitter folks will not be happy to hear that their customer, this one right here, thinks that Periscope was a lot better, but we're working on it, and I want to keep it going with our live Periscopes. There's some connection issues at times in my announcer's booth, so I'm trying to get those resolved. And once we have a better connection, you're going to see more of those. But it's a great way to not only promote my track, but to interact with people and get people a chance to come up to the booth virtually, because a lot of people want to see an announcer's booth, want to see what it's like. They enjoy coming up. I've noticed that when I'm at Emerald Downs, when I was there, people love coming to the announcer's booth. Now, I have to walk on the roof, and there are some safety concerns, which is why I can't have visitors. I'd be happy to have visitors, but from a safety perspective, they want to just keep the essential personnel up there. So even more reason to bring you to the announcer's booth virtually, and keep your eyes open for that, because we're going to do more of it, along with the 204 ducks up in the booth.
Is that an exact count? Is that what we're up to?
Yep, we finally counted recently, and we got to 204. There may have been a 205th that fell on the ground in a box that I can't see. It's over the sound speaker. There's a bunch of sound knobs and things there. So one might have fallen in, but I've counted 204.
I was going to ask if it was you or if you farmed that out to an intern, because that intern, when he went home to his parents and they said, "How was your day today?" "I counted ducks in an announcer's booth."
Yeah. I mean, I could have had the intern do it, but I wanted to do it myself.
It's pride ownership, buddy.
You know what? I always handicap a day in advance. So like when we're running Friday tomorrow, I'll be handicapping Saturday. But on Sunday, there's nothing to do in between races other than watch TV, surf the web, or count ducks. So I think you know where this is going. What ended up happening on one Sunday where I had some time between races to do whatever I pleased.
There you go, Matt. Well, that's why we love you. You're one of the best in the business for any number of reasons. 3 Colts Handicap on Twitter. And Matt, I'll see you Saturday, huh?
All right, Andrew. Yeah, we're going to roll out the red carpet for Andrew and Mr. Champagne. You're not Mr. Champagne. That's your dad.
Yes.
by the way.
Yes, I'm Mr. Champagne the younger. He's Mr. Champagne the elder. Just
with a very
whatever
good
you
last
do,
name, by the way.
I will pay you real money to do this, okay? Call him Mr. David. He really hates that.
Ooh. Well, do I want to make an enemy? That's the question.
Telemarketers do that, and he wants to throw the phone through a wall. Everybody has that quirk.
Hello, Andrew and Mr. David. Okay.
That's
well,
him.
JD, we're going to roll out the carpet for Andrew Champagne. And no pun intended, given your last name, we are going to roll out the red carpet for him. And if you ever come to Golden Gate Fields, JD, we will roll out the red carpet for you. And I'm sure Johnny Taboada will, as that is a lovely hoodie you've got there for Mr. Taboada. And it's been a pleasure being on with you guys. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think Andrew still has to go like 25 more times to get up to my number of lifetime appearances at Golden Gate. And if you want to combine Golden Gate and Bay Meadows, then he'd be in serious trouble.
Yeah, Bay Meadows is now a shopping plaza, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I saw the plaque when I went there once, and it was just the most depressing thing ever. And my girlfriend couldn't figure out why I was really upset.
There was a horse that ran named I Miss Bay Meadows, and she ran 2 or 3 times down south, couldn't win, came up here at Golden Gate and aired, and she is back in on Friday. So if you guys would like a hunch play, I Miss Bay Meadows, the horse, is back in after a runaway maiden win from Maiden 25 Tag, which is a higher level maiden claimer around these parts, is now protected in a starter allowance race this time. So there you go.
I Miss Bay Meadows. Wow, that's a heck of a name, and kudos to the Jockey Club for letting that one through. Matt, thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate it. Always a blast. And Saturday's program at Golden Gate Fields, a really good one. Take parts of our tickets you like, throw out the parts you don't, whatever. The important thing, get involved. It's a tremendous program, and this late pick 4, I think, is going to pay a fair bit, even if nothing overly crazy happens, just because the field sizes are so ridiculously large. Was a blast going through the sequence with you, man, and I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
All right, we'll be ready for it, Andrew.
As you should be. You're going to need some time. But at any rate, for JD Fox, for Matt Dinerman, I'm Andrew Champagne. Thank you very much for spending some time with us here on Champagne and JD. JD, you want to hit him with the catchphrase?
Everybody be safe out there and stay off the beaches. We'll see you next time.
Have a good night, everybody.